And welcome back to Moving Conversations. I'm BrianRichey. Joining me as always is Nora St. John. Morning, Nora. How you doing?
Very well, Brian. It's a beautiful day here in sunny California, and I'm about to leave on a long trip to New Zealand. So I'm pretty excited about seeing a new place.
What most people don't realize is we do record these sort of well in advance, and we have to
Yeah,
because you and I both
absolutely.
travel quite a bit. So right now, it is what we here in DC call the fall spring because it's 80 degrees today.
Oh my
It
God.
is, yes, we're supposed to get some rain, but it was 78 or so yesterday. It's supposed to be above
Wow.
80 today. And then it's going to drop back down into the 50s and 40s by next week again. So all the flowers will be very confused, but as they should be. So right now it's still, beginning-ish of March, middle of March. But by the time this airs, you'll be returning from your long trip. So
I
I
will
can't
be. I
wait.
will be.
So it'll be an interesting turnaround for our listeners because it'll be like, I'm leaving, I'm back. So it'll
I
be
know I'm
fun.
back.
Now we're back.
I love
Uh,
it.
so before we get into today's topic, want to remind everyone to hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. You can always reach out to us via email, movingconvos@gmail.com, or through Instagram, through our DM, movingconvos@gmail.com. Really appreciate it. Love it when we see people comment, the like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. It really helps us out a whole bunch. So please do it. We really appreciate every single one of you, every single time you listen. And now, last week, we had Ancy Bishop on, and it was very interesting conversation about the brain-body connection. And you and I, when we hung up, we sort of were like, wow, okay, I think we need to decipher some of this and break this down a
Yes.
little bit because it was heady stuff, and it should be. We're talking neurology. We're talking about stuff that is a little bit beyond what most Pilates instructors and personal trainers are ever going to come up against, in
Mhm.
their practice. But it's something that can benefit everybody in all of our practices.
It's just another insight into how we move, how we learn music, movement, how we teach, how we learn all
Mm-hmm.
those things. And what I was laugh a little bit because there's a big thing about neurological training, and it's been a bit of a buzzword for a little while in the industry. And I'm like, okay, can you train somebody without involving their brain? No. Right? Like, that's not actually possible. So I think her conversation really just made me think about how to optimize how you
Yes,
train, how you cue, ways you use your own energy and intention, how you create better states for the body in front of you to take information in more easily, right? And again, there's
absolutely.
always refining on that front that can be done.
And we're always refining. I mean, we've talked about this in the past
Yeah.
with intention when we spoke with Eric
Yep.
Franklin. Uh, there's a lot to what we do when it comes to intention, getting someone to do what we want to do. And we may have to say it 50 different ways to get the actual result that we're looking
Yeah.
for. But the truth is, intention has so much to do with it. What do we want the person to do? And when you know that, then you can actually begin to form the words. But as you and I were talking about it before we hit the record button, how many times do we talk to, you can tell that the trainer, the Pilates instructor is just saying the words.
You're right.
They really don't have the intention necessarily. They know they're supposed to say this and they say
Yes,
it loud,
exactly.
but
Yep.
they may not know what they're seeing, what they're looking for, and may not know how to adjust that what they're saying to get the result that they want because they may not know the result that they really want.
And this gets us to this idea, and I really loved how Anne talked about mirror neurons. Even if you haven't listened
Mm,
to our last episode, you might want to do that. There's some really good stuff in there. But this idea of mirror neurons, which I'm always like, what does that exactly mean? And and mirror neurons is this way in which we influence each other, I would say, unconsciously. Does that
mhm.
seem like an accurate way to do that?
Yeah,
And so much of how I think about it in terms of teaching people is exactly what Brian was talking about, intention. The clearer I am about what I'm trying to get out of that client, the experience I'm trying to move them towards, the better I am at getting them to the place that I think maybe they should go. Right. I mean, that
Yeah.
assumes that I, have the right goal and all that. And that's where mirror neurons come in, is like, and I know this from teaching, late on a Friday afternoon, that when I start to lose my brain and my ability to talk, oftentimes I'm clear enough about what I want that my words can be complete salad, and the client does what I want them to do anyway. And that's where I really feel like mirror neurons happen, because I'm not even saying what the body parts are supposed to be correctly, and they seem to understand what I'm saying.
What's funny is I had this exact thing happen yesterday with a client. It's not that my brain was turned off. It's just for some reason I was quieter than normal, but it's almost as though I was a conductor with my hands and her body, because she was lying down on the table and I basically did a scooping motion with my hand to rise up into a bridge. So as I scooped, she went into a pelvic tilt. I went to rise up and she started laughing and she said, "You didn't have to say a word, but I knew exactly what you wanted me to do." And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. And that's really what it is. My intention was very clear. And I said, yes, I'm just a marionette. I just, my fingers are over you and I just tell you what to do. But in truth, that's kind of what it can be, because there are many times I find, and I don't know if you're like this, but I use my hands a lot. Anybody that's watched this on YouTube, you see, I use my hands a lot. It's Italian to me. I use them all the time. But in doing this, there are a lot of times that I will use my hands in a motion that they can see, and immediately I can see them correct. And it's literally like I'm conducting their body, because it's like, okay, I want you to do this, or I'll turn my hands out for an external rotation and I see their feet turn out. And it's kind of neat. And when you're not really watching for it, it becomes very natural. But when I was watching for it after she said that yesterday, I was thinking, man, I do this a lot. And then it dawned on me again about the mirror neurons. I said, wow, this really does go back to what my intention is. And they're really getting it. They're getting my intention through not verbal, but watching, through that visual stimulation.
And I think about even just my facial expression. Those moments when you're like, is that what you really want to be doing? Like, what's happening there? And they're like, oh yeah, right. Like, they pull themselves together, right? It doesn't take a lot, but again, it's how clear are you as a teacher on what you want to have happen? And that's just amazing that works that way. I think it's amazing that it works that way.
Well, we talked about energy and things, and I mentioned pissed mist, that whole, when you walk into a room, you can feel when someone's upset, you're thinking, ooh, what did I just walk into? Well, let's face it, people can sense your energy too, whether it be positive, negative.
Yes.
We had something happen yesterday that was a little on the negative side, and it was in my brain, and one of my clients felt it. I didn't say a word, but she could feel it. And she said, what's going on? And I said, oh, sorry. Something happened earlier. It's still on the back of my brain. And it clued me in, and I was able to shut that out. But it was there enough at that moment that I was thinking, wow, she really picked up on it without me saying a word. And it's not as though I was growly face or anything. It was just, that was there, that energy that was coming out of me. And I had to switch it off. And if anybody's had someone upset with them, you can feel it, or when someone's happy when they enter the room, someone walks in and the whole room brightens up. You're like, wow. And you want those people in your life. I mean,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've mentioned this before. We all have clients that are energy vampires. They walk into a room and for whatever reason,
suck it all in.
They suck all of your energy, and they can be the nicest people. You love the conversation. You love working with them. You love everything about them, but man, they walk out and you're just drained. And other people walk in and they give you that energy. They walk out and you're thinking, man, if I just had 8 of you a day, I'd go home, completely vitalized, full of energy. And it's that same thing, that you can feel that energy in the room. It's palpable.
So we're getting like immediate, and this is where neurology often leads me, is to stuff that sounds kind of esoteric.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's not, but the thing is, it's not esoteric. Like I've trained 1 million teachers over the years. I've taught 1 million classes over the years. And you really see how much your energy and the client's energy interact in any situation. And then a whole lot of the positive benefits that we have on those clients yes, we're teaching the movement, and that's our tool. But some of it is
Mm-hmm.
just like how we energetically meet them also has a huge
Yes.
impact, and I know,
100%.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've had either teachers or clients, like you said, like I've had one teacher who, a long time ago in my studio, who just really didn't care. Like,
Mm-hmm.
client would come in and she would sit on the reformer next to them and talk them through their workout with her coffee in her hand and talk about her weekend with her boyfriend. Like, she was not paying attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was really not, and not surprisingly, she didn't hold clients very well. And she was always like, "Why don't I
Right.
have more clients?" I'm like, "Because you don't care." Like, because you're not paying attention. It's really pretty simple. And
You
I've had
stink.
other, yeah, right. Well, you just aren't really very good. Let's just
No, yeah.
leave it at that. And
Yeah.
then I've got other teachers who, show up, and like their ability to really see what's happening in that client in front of them and kind of use all their skills to make radical changes in like one session. Like, I've seen that too. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, some of it is skill level and conscious, but a lot of it is that unconscious, like, I know where I want you to go. I have a vision for
Mm-hmm.
your future. And oftentimes that's really what gets them there.
It's interesting that you would say that some of this stuff feels esoteric. I remember when I was probably only doing this for 5, 7, 10 years or something. And I would tell other people who did personal training, I said, you guys are doing the easy stuff. When you work with people in rehabilitation, you're dealing with people in pain. So there's a lot of energy work. And
Yeah.
as soon as I said that, I felt new agey and just,
Yeah,
that
exactly. Like, oh
word
dear.
coming out of my mouth. But it was very much there. And I kept thinking,
Yeah, it's
it's
true.
truth. What I'm saying is truth. But at the same time, it felt very
Yeah.
airy-fairy and very esoteric and just hard to put your finger on it. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that they weren't working hard in what they were doing. They were. It's just there's a lot more energy transfer in what I'm doing when I'm working with a client in pain because they've got a lot more going on. So yeah, I agree. When you're talking about the neurology and we're talking about all of this and energy and intention, there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. And a lot of it is going on between the person, almost unspoken, very
Yeah.
unspoken sometimes.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I think, this gets a little bit to, so that's thinking about the mirror neurons and the intention piece. And I think that's for all of you out there who are teachers and even you who are movers, really, this is where I get kind of intense about being purpose driven. And I know
Mhm.
that sounds, whatever that sounds, I don't really care what that sounds like. If I know where I want that client to go and what I think is possible for them, then I can move things forward. If I'm just
Mhm.
kind of like, this is, whatever, I'm giving you a workout. That's the number one. I can't do that. I'm just not capable. But that doesn't get me there. Like, I'm going to give you an experience. No, I'm going to give you an experience that will move you in this direction. And
Yes.
and, and I think, for me, that difference is, and with rehab, you're always goal oriented. Right. I mean, you
Mhm.
can do with regular clients as well, but certainly when there's pain and there's issues, like, you're trying to solve a problem. And
Mhm.
and and that's really where, again, that focus becomes very intense because you're trying to make a difference right here, right now, as best you can. Yeah.
I've explained it to people before when we talk about things like this. Everything has to have a why, every exercise, everything that we do
Yes.
has to have that
Yes.
why. And I say, look, if I told you, okay, get in your car and just start driving, but I'm not telling you where we're going.
Right.
Okay, you might end up there. There's a possibility eventually. But if I tell you where we're going, okay, we're going to the airport. Well, there's about 6
Yeah.
different ways to go to the airport. What's the fastest? What has the least amount of traffic? What has the least amount of congestion? Da 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 da. Da. You make your choices on how you want to get there. That's what intention means to me is, okay,
Yeah.
I have a goal. I know I need to get to this certain point, whether it be someone who is in pain or wants to lose weight or wants to, whatever it is, an aging person wants to improve balance, whatever it is, everybody has their goal. But if I know that intention, I can make my route, the path that I want to take, I can make it the way that I want. And hopefully it's the fastest, it's the most efficient and safest for that client. That's what goes on in my head. And that's really what intention is to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was really well said. I think that was really well said. And those of you, again, if any of you are out there who are starting in the industry or even working with it, it's like, just know what you're doing. Just have some sense of what your goals are for you and for
Mhm.
your client. And Brian has said this a lot, and I really love that you say this, Brian. So I'm going to repeat it again. The client has their goals, and their goals might be get out of pain, or it might be I want to ski, or it might be I want to be able to lift my grandkids, right? So they have some, or wherever their goals are. I want a garden, whatever. Those are great goals. What I also suggest you do is based on what those goals, those functional goals are for them, or those others performance goals are for them, what are your goals for them? Like, what does that
Mhm.
break down into? It may break down into increase the mobility of their hips. It may break down into increasing their core strength and stability. It may break down into just building up upper body strength, right? So there's the client's goals, and then what does that mean in terms of what you're doing?
Mhm. Absolutely. The last client I had before we went on, I haven't seen him in a long time. And he is kind of bouncing off the walls ADHD. And he's the first to admit it. I can't tell you how many times I'll say, slow down, slow down, slow down, almost calm down. And he always laughs about it. He said, I know, I know. But today was really a session to get reacquainted. And it was what do we want to accomplish?
Yeah.
And what do you want to accomplish? I've already done my assessment on him before. I know his body, but at the same time, it's been 6 to 8 months. There's a different body in front of me. So now I have to reacquaint myself. But if I do a formal assessment, he's not going to really care for that. So I had to do an informal assessment where we went through certain exercises. What do I see? What do I want to improve? Okay. By the end of the session, it's like, okay. And he said, what homework do I have? I said, nothing yet. I said, I got to process all this first. I got to know where I'm going. I don't want to
Yeah.
just roll things. I don't want to blindly throw a dart at a dartboard. I might hit the wall. I may hit a person. I don't know. I doubt if I'm going to hit my target yet. I need to know
Right.
my target. And that's
Right.
what today's session was, is me taking in the information, figuring that out over the next couple of days, let it process so that when I do see him next, it's like, all right, I got an idea. Today's session was very beneficial. It moved him toward a direction, but it's sort of like, okay, we're going east. I know we're going east. That's where we're
Where we're
going.
going, I don't know, but east is the
Where
direction.
exactly? I don't know, but it's over there. So that's kind of what happened today. And it was a great session. He walked out of here feeling great. But for me, it was sort of like, okay, now I know what I need to do. And you're right. We've
Yeah.
talked about it before. What are his goals? What are my goals for him?
Mhm.
Because that's going to get him there the fastest. That's what's really going to take that next step. And I think that's what a lot of, you know, baby instructors, we've sometimes called them, young Pilates instructors and personal trainers who really don't know the ins and outs of the industry yet and are still learning. Let's face it, it
Yes.
probably took me a good 5-7 years before I
Yeah.
really knew what I don't know and what I might know, and realized how important intention was and how important knowing what direction I was taking and not just putting someone through a workout, which anybody can do.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about that. Thinking about a new teacher, or thinking about somebody who's developing their skills, which we all continually
We
are,
all
myself
still are.
included, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a perpetual situation. It's like, how do we develop those skills? And I know a lot of it for me is paying attention, right? Just more
Mhm.
clients, doing more things over more time. And I was talking about is developing your database. You try a bridge on Alice, Louise, Georgia, and Frank, right? You got 4 different bridges. And
Mhm.
works great for them, really irritates their back. They have no range of motion, right? So same exercise, maybe even the same cueing, maybe they're in a class, maybe they're in a private, totally different experiences each one. And
Mhm.
and that's how that database builds, is like, okay, well, that worked for most of the people, but these guys not. And then why did it not work?
That's
What was different about that body or that brain that allowed it to be a little bit fuzzier?
absolutely. And that takes experience, that takes time, that takes just time in the saddle. How many times have people come up to you and said, "How do you see what you see?" I have it happen all the time. I've also been in a classroom where they're teaching something and the teacher is seeing certain things and can put a person in a certain direction. But you look at the 50 people or 20 people, however many students are there, and they're all thinking, I can't see that. I don't know what you're
Right.
looking at. And if you
Right.
don't see it, you can't change it. So
Yeah.
guess what?
Yeah.
That's where it has to happen first. And how that happens is repetition. So it's seeing a ton of people do the same thing and then
Yeah.
understanding why does it work for them, but maybe not for them.
It's also, I mean, so some of that too is education too. I know for me,
True.
I took an infinite number of continuing education courses when I was first teaching. I pretty much spent, any of my disposable income on continuing education courses of all different kinds from all different teachers. Just because every time, and my friend Shireen, I was used to say, what are the pearls you got from that? Right. Because at a certain point, I'd been teaching long enough that it was like, yeah, got that. Oh, that's another step. That's another layer. Got that. Oh, that's another layer. And it's kind of looking for where is that next growth, where is that next layer for you? I think is also really a key part of that. And
not wasting your money on classes that aren't going to get you to your goal. You may not know it until you take it, but
right.
sort of figuring out what exactly you want to accomplish.
Right. What are the things that move you?
Yes.
What are you passionate about? One thing that I often say, Eve Gentry, who was a Pilates elder, had this great phrase, which was, there is no bad movement, only movement badly done.
I love that.
And I kind of love that. And my corollary to that is, for teachers, you can do anything with any movement. You can modify the heck out of it, do whatever you want, as long as you can tell me why. Right. Like whenever I'm on Instagram, and I don't spend much time on there, and I see these crazy things happening on reformers or whatever, and I'm thinking, and I just want to put in the comments why. Because sometimes there's a really good reason. And sometimes it's just, it felt good or it's fun. Like, those are perfectly fine reasons. But I would really like to know, like why? Like, what is your why on this? What is the purpose for this? What are you driving towards?
You know what? I saw a perfect thing. It was just before the Winter Olympics. They showed an athlete, and she was in a squat with one arm holding on to like a barbell or something, and exploding and pushing forward, exploding, pushing forward, exploding, pushing forward. And the thing said, what is she doing? Why is she doing this? And guess what? It was someone doing the bobsled.
Oh, yeah.
It was exploding and pushing. You know what? There's a reason for it. Again, if there's a why, perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. And I have no problem with any exercise in the world if there's a reason for it, and there's a good reason for it, not just it looks cool.
Right. Yeah.
But for some people, okay, that's a great exercise. And you're right. There are times when I'll be walking through the gym and I'll see someone doing something, and I have to put my blinders on, because I have to remind myself, I don't know their reason.
Right. I don't know why they're doing that. There may be a reason.
Judgmental, vibes are coming off of me. I'll be the first to admit it. And I have to just quiet them and say, I don't know what their goals are. And unless I know what their goals are, I got to keep my mouth shut, because it's none of my business.
Right.
It really isn't. But there's definitely moments when I'm thinking, I'd love to find out why.
Yeah. Because what are you doing? Excuse me, what are you doing?
Exactly. I don't want to be rude, but it's like,
no, but sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? Why does that seem like a good idea? One of the things too is thinking about being a new instructor. And again, it's a long time ago for both of us, so I'm going to pretend that I remember this. So much is learned from also, like, as a starting point, just doing the exercises. Like, if I'm a personal trainer, just seeing a million squats, seeing a million lunges, seeing a million whatever else you're doing. As a Pilates teacher, seeing footwork 100 times, seeing roll downs 100 times, right? There's so much that you learn from that. And one thing I like to say to people that are just kind of starting to feel their way into this and really interested in getting deeper with this is, be patient with yourself. Be patient. Like, you won't really learn to be, an incredible person who can see everything that's happening in a body immediately. It's not going to happen.
Nope.
But be patient with yourself and just let yourself gather the information in kind of a relaxed way. Like, just take it in. Just take it in. If it helps you to journal, if it helps you to, make notes on clients, if there's anything that helps you to kind of absorb the information, do that. If it helps you to record things, like now we have our little cameras on our phones with us all the time. Those are really super helpful. I'm working with one teacher who is newish to this. So every client that has an issue, it's like it's a new thing, and
Mm.
she's like very excited about it. She's got lots of ideas about it, and then she thinks that that applies to everybody else with that condition. Right? She gets her first spondylolisthesis. She gets her first hip replacement. And she's like, oh, now I get it. I'm like, well, you get one. You understand
Mhm.
one. It doesn't mean you understand all the many variations that will pop across your door. Good. That's good. So hold that information. That's
Mhm.
one layer. And then the next client with it, and the next one, the next one, the next one will all just add layers to that and complexity to your understanding of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember I worked with a physical therapist, and she said, "You know what? I'm searching for the perfect exercise.
Yeah.
The problem is it doesn't exist. And when I do find it,
No.
it's not going to be the same tomorrow. And it's going to constantly change, and it's going to constantly be different for every single person." And when she said it, I was still a very young instructor. I was thinking, what does she mean by that? But
Yeah.
then later on, I thought, wow, it's very true. We do sort of see through that prism of
Yeah.
you can only take in what and build upon what you currently know.
Right.
So
Yes.
if I'm in 8th grade, I can really only take in enough information based on what I've learned up through 8th grade, which is going to be much different than the amount I learn by the time I get to 12th grade or by the time I
Right.
graduate with a master's degree. So the more
Yes.
you can take the same class over and over again and always get something new out of it based on your experiences in the meantime, always.
Absolutely.
So it,
Absolutely.
it sort of dawned on me later on, yeah, it's very true. We are sort of searching for that thing. But every single client that walks through the door with any specific issue is gonna be completely different. I'm seeing it right now with people on GLP-1s.
Oh, yeah.
Every one of them is completely different in how it's
Yeah.
affecting their body, what
Yeah.
side effects they have, what results they have, and I've been to a few classes where I'm hearing someone speak about it as if this is how it is with all of them. I'm thinking, "No, I probably have 15 people at least on it, and I gotta tell you, I've got 15 different experiences. Everything from it's the greatest
Mhm.
thing in the world, I have had no side effects, this is unbelievable, to this is horrible, I feel terrible all the time, my body is
Yeah.
shut down, it's ruined me metabolically." So I've
Yeah.
had the whole gamut. So you
Yeah.
can't really look at everybody and say one thing is going to fit into you can't shoehorn it in for everybody, ever.
I think that's a really good example, right? Because it's also something where the world, I'll just call it the world, promises all kinds of things, right?
Mhm.
GLP-1s, like it's a thing. And to my experience as well, because I've talked to a lot of people on it, because you and I have been talking about it, and I've been
Mhm.
thinking about it, and it has a lot of it's part of the fitness industry, if you will, and
Yeah.
it also has effects on my training and
Yes.
processes we've talked about before. And it's like, man, some people it works great. It seems to be not a problem. Other people it has all kinds of horrible side effects. Some people I know have gone on it and off it, on it and off it, and their
Mhm.
weight just is yo-yoing like crazy, like everything, like almost every possibility. And I haven't had that big a sample set.
Right. And that's just it.
It's just
How
everyone's different.
yeah, we've had a very small sample set. So
Yeah.
for any trainer out there who is working with someone with that issue or a back
Any other
issue, a
issue,
shoulder
really.
problem, any issue, even losing weight. I remember one person came in, she's still a client of mine. I've had her for at least 12 years now. She came and wanted to lose weight. Well, my first instinct is, well, okay, this should be fairly easy. She only has about 15 pounds to lose. This should be no problem. I was really, really, really wrong in that she had metabolic, she was going through menopause, she had hormonal
Mm,
issues, she had
mm,
diabetes issues, she had a
mm.
lot of things
Yeah.
happening in this body of hers that was preventing plus physical issues. Back pain that limited her. She can't do cardio. She can't do this or that because of these issues. So guess what? She was put in a totally different category than someone who comes in who can be the exact same age, but suddenly, okay, she's been eating horribly. Okay, we tighten up her diet. We have her do cardio. Hey, she's got lost 10 pounds. They're
Yeah,
completely
exactly.
different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have to go into it with my eyes wide open and really see them as individuals and then say, okay, what is my intention with this client? What do I want to accomplish? How can I get them there? And then be able to take in all the information without having any preconceived notions or ideas saying, oh, I know everything. No, I really don't. I got to really take this in and what do I want to accomplish and how can I get them there? And if something doesn't seem to be working, let's pivot. And to be, I hate to say smart enough, but to be wise enough and have enough experience to, and humble enough to be able to say, well, that didn't work. Okay.
Right, exactly. That's really important to go, oh, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something else. Really important to not get stuck on your thinking this is the goal because it may not be.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's taken a while to move in a certain direction. It's taken a long while. And it's gotten there, but it's gotten there through a lot of help, not just from me, but from a lot of other people too.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, there's your scope and then there's everybody else. And we've talked many times about just the network and the importance of having a network of people you can refer to that have skills you don't have. It's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So the other thing, yes.
No, please. I think we're going in the same place. I think we're going in the same direction here.
Okay. One other thing that Anne talked about was like polyvagal theory, the mythical vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve.
That's where I was going.
Yeah, which innervates kind of everything, like a whole lot of the organs, heart rhythm, all kinds of things. And it is very affected by stress and by overactivation of the sympathetic nervous system and cortisol and stress, as opposed to activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is kind of more relaxing and calming. And one of the things that, I just know from, she didn't talk as much about it, but brain science is in order to make change, to think creatively, to problem solve well, we do that much better from a parasympathetic sympathetic state than from a sympathetic state. So, and there's a lot of research that backs that up. So if you're looking at a client who is, in discomfort or in acute pain, having real trouble with something, that automatically usually puts them in a fairly sympathetic state because it's a stressful state for the body to be in. And I'm sure you've seen this. I know I have. From that state of kind of like hyper stress and hyper anxiety, it's harder to make changes. I've had other clients come in who are just much more like, yeah, well, I had a hip replacement, about 3 months ago, but I've been pretty good, and I'm pretty relaxed. It's like just that mentality, that sympathetic versus parasympathetic tone, if you will, in the client can make a huge difference in their ability to take in information, to trust in the fact that they can change, to improve their movement patterns, and to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times have we had a client who is high stressed, a lot of body discomfort, can't ever seem to make changes in their body? They go on vacation. They're come back. They've had no problems on vacation. Their body never hurt. They slept in weird beds and weird pillows and all this kind of stuff. But man, maybe I should get that bed. Maybe I should get that pillow. I'm like, I don't think it has to do with that. I think
you can, but that's not solving your problem.
Exactly. I remember I've told this story. I don't know if I've told it to you. I had a woman who we were working on weight loss, and we were working on it for a while, and she was stuck. Nothing was working. I mean, nothing was working, and she was really frustrated. And what happened? She lost her job. She lost her job, and her family originally was from the Philippines, and she had never been back to the Philippines before. So she said, I'm taking an opportunity. I'm going to go back to the Philippines and get in touch with my family heritage. So she left for a month. She came back. She had lost about 25, 30 pounds. She'd fallen in love. Her body, everything had changed. Her spirit, her energy, everything had changed. And I was like, wow. And that was one of the first times that I realized it's stress, because I said, how are you eating? She said, I kind of ate like a pig. I was eating anything I wanted to.
Right.
I said, really? And she said, yeah. I said, were you exercising? No, not formally, but I was going to the beach. I was taking walks. I said, for her, a lot of it had to do with the stress. And once I sort of realized that, that was my first indication that, wow, stress has a lot more to do with this than I ever imagined, because that was sort of a light bulb moment. And it
Yeah,
just
that's a
changed
great
her.
one. That's very vivid.
It really was, because she came back a different person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, it's a big difference. And I think we've all seen it with clients who are stuck in maybe jobs they don't like, or high stress jobs, but they're also in high pain, discomfort,
Yes.
headaches, whatever it is, and they never seem to get beyond it.
Yep. Until, to your point, they quit their job, they go on vacation. Sometimes they divorce their spouse. I've had
Yes.
all those, right? I've had
The
so
divorce
many
diet, I've
clients.
seen that too.
Yeah. Well, not just the diet, but like, oh, and now my pain's gone. It's like, okay, well, that person, that spouse really wasn't pain in your ass, apparently, right?
Literally.
Yeah. So it's like it's just so interesting to do that. And I know a lot of my approach always with clients, particularly in pain, was how do I calm their nervous system? How do I get them in a
Mhm.
relaxed place? And really, that's about how do I make them feel safe?
Yeah.
Safety is so critical for those clients, because safety is usually what's been missing in their life for whatever
Mhm.
reason, or at least their feeling of safety. And honestly, I've succeeded many times in creating that, and then a couple of times I have absolutely not succeeded, in the
Hmm.
sense of, like, there's this one client had a long time ago, and I used to go to her house, and she had like really bad back pain. And she had back pain to the point where she had basically laid in bed for about a year. So her back really
Ooh.
hurt. She went to a bunch of doctors. They gave her the usual kind of opioids. She kind of basically went to bed for a year and didn't move for pretty much a year. Now, when she finally decided, like, okay, I got to start to get my life back, her range of motion was extremely limited. Like, literally, her
Yeah.
fascia had completely glued up. And so, like, forward bend for her, she could maybe touch her knees. Like,
Mm.
she had her entire back fascia had stiffened up so profoundly. And I worked with her for a long time, and I really didn't make much difference. And it was one of those, it was hard for me. It was very hard for me, because I tried 100 ways to create safety, 100 ways to create engagement on her side. And she was just like committed.
Mhm.
She's not able to change.
Yeah.
And following her afterwards, like even after I stopped working with her, like, there's just not been much change that's happened. And that was interesting too. That was a very good learning experience for me. Because she couldn't, she had a lot of really difficult things happening in her life, and it happened in her life, and she just couldn't get beyond it. At
Mhm.
least not with me, and it doesn't seem like she could with many other people either. And that was slightly depressing. Honestly, it was really hard for me to feel like I couldn't make a difference in this person's life. But it was just interesting to see where her stress level was. She was so committed to her stress level,
Mhm.
that there was no way in. And I
Mhm.
really tried everything. I did everything I knew anyway at the time.
It's interesting you mentioned providing a safe space, because I've been told that by a number of clients.
I'm sure.
Uh, I've said this on the podcast before. We live in a society and I heard this from someone else, so I'm not claiming to be a genius, with this phrase, but we live in a society that's very high tech. What we're lacking is high touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a lot of our clients, we may be the only person that they talk to one-on-one, and
Yeah,
who's actually listening to them.
yeah,
I have a psychologist who deals with trauma. That's her specialty, is trauma. So she's listening to trauma all day. And we've talked about this. It's natural for us to store some of whatever's coming at us, whether we like it or not. It
yeah,
happens.
yeah,
And she is doing that. And we work on trying to get her. She has a lot of issues, and we're working constantly on getting her away from that. And it's interesting, because when she comes in, I'm sure you're like this. A client comes in, you've been working with them for a long time. They ask you how your weekend was. You tell them. I ask them how there was. Da, 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 and there's conversation. What I realized with her is there's no conversation. I have taken the role that she takes as therapist, even though I'm not providing any type of therapy
Right.
whatsoever.
Yes. Yes.
I'm the bartender. I'm the person that she doesn't have to talk to
Right.
unload on. So she
Yes.
has a place where she feels very safe, where she can just say whatever she wants, no judgment, and she feels very safe. And she really is like not very interested in anything, you know. Occasionally she'll be like, "Oh, are you traveling?" You know, once every 3 or 4 sessions. For her, this is her safe space for her. And I
Right.
provide that for her. And that's what she needs. And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's really what it is providing them that space where they can relax.
Yeah.
And she's a person that you and I have talked about in the past that has a lot of issues. And the first few sessions was, okay, you're going to lie down. We're going to put you on your back.
Mhm.
We're going to work on breathing. The first 10 minutes is just breathing, maybe on a foam roller, maybe on a spine fit, or maybe on this, and just get you to relax. Okay, marching. And the whole session is almost not doing much. But you know what? Those first 6 weeks of doing that set us up for her body relaxing enough that, oh, now I can move. And I can move
And
without pain.
And I think that, like, I love what you said there, because one of the ways that we calm down the nervous system is through breath, right? Through just
Yeah.
kind of paying attention, focusing, stillness, breath, all those things. There's a million, every meditation theory in the planet has come from that same place, right? So
Mhm.
this has been, humans have been doing this for a long time, using breath to moderate their nervous system. And it's really a key part of finding that safe space, right?
Mhm.
Of like, okay, let's just lie down, or let's go do something simple. You know, I did that with footwork with clients, you know, and I know that there's like a lot
Exactly.
of zing going on. So let's come on over here. Let's just start with some footwork. They know it, they're comfortable with it, it's easy. And then I just say, okay, now find a breath pattern that works for you. You know, breathe in here, breathe out there, or breathe in and out, whatever you want to do. And then, you know, then by the time we've gone through a few different variations of footwork, you just see
Yeah.
the tension level come down. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's and then once you get there, then you can start to really explore stuff, right? And to change
Yep.
things. And
Yep.
that's something that I think I'd be interesting. I don't know. I think about a lot of classes that I've observed. And
Mhm.
not that some classes will focus on that. Some really start pretty much like right out of the gate,
Yep.
with a lot of kind of aggression, you might say, or at least a more aggressive approach. And one of the things I think is really beneficial, certainly for our clients, who are often, again, clients in pain, is finding that safe space, finding that calm, and then you can push it as far as you want. Once they're calm, you've got the
Yeah.
ability to really go to higher, more intense places. But if you don't get that calm first, I think you're just adding stress onto stress, which I don't think is always optimum.
100%. I think a lot of newer instructors have a hard time managing expectation of the clients. When a
Uh-huh.
client comes
Uh-huh.
into any type of fitness facility, whether it be Pilates, yoga, whatever it is, they come in with a certain expectation in their mind. It's kind of like when someone
Yep.
walks into my gym. Okay. Yes, I've got a whole Pilates studio. Yes, I've got a regular gym. They expect to see certain things. They expect a treadmill. They expect an
Uh-huh.
elliptical. What
Right.
they look around and they're like, wait, you don't have any free weights. I said, no, I've got a few dumbbells, got a few kettlebells over there, but we have a lot of other things for resistance. And you can see it's changing their expectations at that moment. It's
Uh,
something's missing and I'm
yeah.
not meeting that expectation. And I think in a lot of times when people come in, it's sort of, you want to meet their expectations so that they're happy. So that,
Uh-huh.
so it's
Right.
like, I got to get them. We got to work out hard. And sometimes it's like, no, the client that I told you about today, it was a reassessment sort of thing. He came in wired. Okay, we're going to work on some release work. And I monitored how I was speaking. And I said, okay, oh, this is happening. Let's work on this. Let's release this. And I could feel his energy begin to relax a little bit. It took us
Yeah.
a half hour. It took us a half an
Yeah.
hour of releasing this, releasing that, getting some range of
Yeah.
motion going because he was having some, physical issues and whatnot. I said, okay, now let's work on this. Let's do that. And by the end, he was feeling great. And it was, again, managing that expectation. He knew what to expect. But at the same time, I had to give him what he needed sometimes, not just what he expected to have. By the end, he got a
Yeah.
little bit of both.
Yes.
He got his ice cream and his vegetables both. But, sometimes you got to give them what they want, but you really got to give them what they need.
Absolutely. I say that all the time. I say that all the time, and I do that all the time. But I think in both cases, and especially, again, if you guys are teaching more like group classes out there, it's trickier. I find it's trickier to
Yeah.
really get that because there are a lot of people that are there because this is their one workout for the week and they really want to get kind of their blood moving and get things pumping. But there are
Yep.
ways that you can just incorporate breath into each movement. Like inhale here, exhale there, inhale here, exhale there, even if you're going with, fast knee stretches or something like that. Right? Just like find that place. And then the other thing too, and I know Ann talked a bit about this and we talked a little bit about it, is tuning them into what their body's feeling. Just getting them aware of like, this feels better.
Yeah.
This feels not so much better. It would feel better if my weight was a little shifted to my right. It would feel better if, whatever. And really tuning them into that and helping them take control of their own bodies.
Yeah.
Because I find that's where things change. I think of one client who just absolutely took everything on from the moment we started working together. It was fantastic. Like,
Yep.
I would give her a suggestion. She would practice it all week. It was unbelievable.
Nice.
And she made huge progress, like huge progress. I think another client I had for 16 years, twice a week, who really never took it on himself. Like he just assumed he would come in and I would take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'd give him stuff to do and he would never do it. And I'd give him suggestions and he wouldn't take it in. And he made some progress, but really he didn't. I mean, really, he didn't make much progress. And he seemed to have a surgery every 2 years just because he did. So, different people have very different approaches that way.
Yeah.
And the more you get involved and engaged, the better.
Absolutely. And it not only gives them part of that responsibility. I've mentioned that to you before. Someone told me a long time ago that we should be trying to turn over the responsibility to the client. And I'm thinking, no, if they feel that they're responsible, then they're not going to need me. And yet the longer I do this, the more I realize the opposite is true. I want to make them responsible for their body.
Yeah.
And if you can get them feeling to taking ownership of the workout, the exercise, that you're here to guide, but it's their journey, it's their body, and getting their body and their brain firing and functioning properly, focusing them on what it is they need to do, what needs to happen, but also helping them meet their goals, their expectations at the same time, you're going to see results so much better and so much faster.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just makes all the difference. And not that you can always do that. I've got, some clients really just do not want to be in their body and do want to just give you the responsibility for taking care of their body for them, which happens for sure.
No
but
question.
even with those clients, like every now and then you can just kind of make a little breakthrough and get them a little bit more involved and really start to see like I'm sure this happens for you. How many clients tell you haven't seen them for a while and maybe you haven't seen them in a few years. You see them on the street or they come in for another session after a while. I'm like, your voice is in my head all the time.
All the time. Yep.
Like pull this in when I do that or lean this over this way or think about that or all those little things. And that's what really, again, you stick in your clients.
100%. No question. No question. I think one of the best things that we can do for those clients who are coming in sort of high strung and are very much living in a sympathetic environment is getting them to realize that they'll see better results when we can get things to calm down. Success breeds success. So when they start seeing a little bit of success, if you can prove to them that doing 2 minutes of breath work at the beginning, just getting them lie down on this foam roller and let's do some marching. Let's take some breaths, think about widening your breath, elongating it, however you want to term it for your client, and focusing on that, just getting them clued into their body, how much that can really get them focused. Then you can really take them up a notch after that. But if you can explain to them the importance of that, and then they start seeing that they are having success, it's like, oh, wow. And say, that's part of it. And say, I often joke with clients. I say, okay, there is a method to this madness. And yes, I know there's a lot of madness. I understand that. But if you follow through, understand that there's a reason that I have you do all the things I have you do. And if you skip any of them, your results may not be as fast as you'd like.
Yeah.
And then when they do what I'm asking them to do, and I will add in breath work or whatever I think they need, they're often surprised. Wow, that really does help. And I say, and does it get you focused? Yeah, it really does. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Acknowledge it. Don't pat yourself on the back. Just say, cool. All right, let's do it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And it really helps to emphasize that with the clients and re-emphasize it each time. If you're consistent with it, they'll be consistent with it. And it can get them from that heightened state, maybe not all the way to parasympathetic, but it can get them from a heightened state to a little less of a heightened state. And sometimes that's all they need.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I mean, you're in Washington, D.C. area, and I was, both of which are just like incredibly stressful places for people in all fronts. And that ability to just have them calm down a bit. Like I know for me, I've been in a million Pilates studios and gyms around the world, and you can tell the moment you walk in if it's a good place or not.
Oh yeah.
And most of them, you walk in, it's like, oh, there's just a feeling of relaxation. There's a feeling of calm. There's a feeling of and that's what I'm looking for. Like I want to come in and feel like I can relax here. I can be present here.
100%. I remember last summer we taught at Blue Moon Pilates. That's how I felt when I walked in. Yeah. I'll be honest. It was one of those environments and I didn't have to see anything. It was just, the energy just felt, wow. Yeah. And it was relaxing.
Yes.
And I tell people that all the time when I'm creating my space. It's like, I need to make sure that when someone walks in, that they have that feeling of calm. The colors I choose, everything needs to have a little bit of that. Yes, we're going to work out, but I don't want them to feel like, aggressive when they walk in the door. Some gyms are like that. Some fitness facilities, that's their brand. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I kind of want the opposite. I want them to feel comfortable. I often joke that I want them to feel as though this could be a part of their home to a certain degree, that they feel comfortable enough to be like, yeah, this is, comfortable. So to me, that's really important to have that vibe, to have that feeling, because it does lend to how you feel in the workout.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the culture you create at your studio, whether it's through the artwork that you have on your walls, the music you play or don't play, however you choose to do that, the way that you interact with your employees, the way that you interact with your clients. It's like if I'm in a studio and there's a lot of like people in the corner, like I don't know, gossiping with each other. And there's, you walk in, there's that feeling of judgment and side eye happening. Mm-hmm. Like that's not a relaxing environment, right? That's a less safe environment. And that's going to get, my defensiveness up. And on the other hand, if you walk in and everyone's like welcoming and, hey, good to see you, Alice, creating that warmth and that feeling, it just changes everything. And, for those of you who are owning studios, think about that, because that will bring people back. Brian's, I'm sure, had clients since he opened, and I certainly did when I had my studio. Like I couldn't get rid of them, even when probably I should have, or they should have found somebody else because they'd stopped listening to me. But basically, it's like that. That's what creates client retention as well. Right? It's a really good business decision. It's not just about the woo-woo-ness of energetics. It's about really creating successful client interactions and ones that clients want to repeat. And then they come back and they come back and they come back.
Absolutely. You and I are old enough to remember the TV show Cheers.
Yeah.
The theme song where everybody knows your name. That is something that is going to bring people back time and time again. Yep. How many times you go to a restaurant enough times and you start getting the same waiter or waitress or whoever, and they know your name, they know your likes, your dislikes. Before long, it really doesn't matter what the food tastes like.
Exactly.
It's now
it's a community, the connection.
100%. Yeah. I mean, way back when a town would have the local pub, and that would be where everybody would hang out and you felt welcome, you felt wanted. We want to create that environment because that's an environment where you will help them de-stress, where you will take them from a point of being high stress to, I'm in my space now. I'm in my place. And that's when work can get done.
Yeah, and I know again, I taught private, semi-privates, and classes, and I would do the same thing in classes. And what would happen in classes is if you create that environment. I mean, I had a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 o'clock reformer class for years.
Mm.
That basically I think I had 5 reformers, 6 reformers there. I think I had 6 reformers. Like 4 of them were pretty much the same people every single day for
Yep.
years. And then they become friends, and then they're like going out for coffee afterwards. And then it's like, hey, why isn't Alice here today? And it's like, oh, well, she's on vacation, or she had a little injury or whatever. And everybody's like, well, tell her we love her. And it just was like such a nice environment. Everybody felt
Mhm.
safe, everybody felt welcome, everybody felt like they could just really be themselves. And it's so delightful, it's just delightful. And it's fun
And
to
that
work in an environment like that.
exactly. Exactly. And that's where people will feel that safety. And
Yeah.
that's where they will feel welcome and wanted and warm. And I mean, these are very practical things that you can do. Now, if you're working in someone else's studio, maybe not, but you can get them to relax themselves. You can get them to focus. I worked in a very large gym and it just wasn't working for me. I found a little nook in the gym and
Yes,
moved a
exactly.
bunch of stuff in there into this
Yeah.
little nook. And I would tell clients, meet me over there.
Yeah.
Why are we so far away from everybody? Let's hang out over here. And before long, they say, I love it here because it's
Yeah,
quiet.
exactly.
I created
I
a
can focus
safer
and
place. Yeah,
concentrate. Yeah.
100%. So for me, I just had to figure out what worked for those clients. Now, some people love that energy and want to be around other people. Cool.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
Yep.
But I also created the space that client needed to de-stress, to be able to come down. And so we could get, I could get the results that I was looking for the client, and that they could get the results that they were looking for. And that's very, very important, and it's working with the brain on a different level. It's really not just, like I say, working on, getting their body to do what I want them to do, but putting them in an environment and a safe place so that their body can do what I want and get the results that we're looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as usual, we had a free-ranging conversation. But hopefully it just brought some practical pieces, some things to think about in terms of how the brain and the body work together, and particularly in terms of teaching movement, creating a safe space, being clear on your intention and your purpose,
Yeah.
working with a client in front of you, gathering information from all the clients that you work with, and really letting yourself take that information in and be solid with it. Yeah. Any final words, Brian?
No, I think we said it all. We appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much for listening. Like I say, we couldn't do it without you. We would be here. Trust me, we would be here even if there was only one person listening, because Nora and I love to talk, but we love having you. We love having you join us. Do us a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. Comment, share, do all those things. Check us out also on YouTube under my name, BrianRichey. We have a bunch of shorts. We have a bunch of things on there. Our Instagram is Moving Combos, and you can always reach out to us, movingcombos@gmail.com. So for Nora St. John, I'm BrianRichey. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye, guys.